Traders, welcome back to another Relentless recap. This one is going to be short and sweet, not that much to really go over. Let's see, stocks that we had in play today. The main stock that I traded was LASE. This one, curled up and gave a pretty decent move. I could have definitely done better. I'm up 94 bucks, which is basically flat. But we had some good positions. We had some great entries, some great opportunities, all things considered. This thing started off giving a nice opening surge, opening up and just going straight up, nice green candle, which is always good to see. And so from there, we started to see some pullback entries towards the VWAP area. Initially, I thought it was failing here, but it ended up holding, giving this bit of a doji candle. And from there, we had a low of 95. It pushes up to 208, pulls back to 95 again. Right here was a big deciding moment for me. I was long 2,000 shares initially on this candle at $2, stopped out flat, and I did not buy back. I needed to buy back 5,000 size down here because almost immediately we had the curl, and the curl went to 217. If I could have captured 10-15 cents out of that, because from 95 to 17, it's a good 23 cents. If I could have captured 10-15 cents out of that 5,000 size, that alone could have been the day, putting us up about 500 on the trade. Well, we missed that key opportunity there. It pushes up, it pulls back here to 08. We get a high of 24. It comes down to 6, and then we get a high of 17. And so these were basically some of the pullback entries, right? The low of 8 right here, the low of 6 for the retest of 17, or let's say 20 pre-market highs, and maybe even this one. But besides that, there were a few scalp opportunities, and this is why I'm saying I could have done better. The charting is not the cleanest, but I could have done better. And as mentioned, this move was a really big move right here that I needed to take, and I opted not to trade. I was being a little too cautious at this point in time. And so I missed out on that entry. But after that, we pulled back, and later in the day, it did curl through highs. We had this descending kind of resistance here. It's not that obvious, not that clear, but more of a wedge, I guess we can say. It does break over the highs, over 18 and then 24, and it pushes up to 38, then double tops and sells off hard. This pullback area here wasn't bad, but I wasn't too locked in. I did take a trade on the stream initially at 28 right here. We did have the bigger pullback at 25, which I mentioned would have been better to get in slightly lower. It pulls back even lower here slightly, though not that much, 23, and I think this entry here was ideal because previous high of day was at 24, and then it curls up here. This is disappointing that we want to see this breakthrough high of day. So yeah, that was LASE, pretty decent stock. It's like on this stock I should have been much more green. And other news we had SINT. So as I'm trading LASE, I'm dialed in. This one was halted up early at 9:58. I still didn't really talk to anybody in the community who I know that trades the dip and rip here, but this one seemed to have given a good dip and rip. Okay, we're halted at 9:58. We resume at 10:23. So this is about a 50 plus cent resumption, right? Yeah, about a 60 cent resumption higher. So pretty good. It dips down, right? The halt level is 9:58. We dip down to a low of 9:59. So it basically dips into the previous halt level, which is exactly what we want to see. And then the rip. So if this was clean price action and I'm watching at this as the red comes in, as soon as we start to curl, I want to be in and selling into the highs. So it all would have depended on the price action though. The charting looks clean for the entry. Was the price action clean, or was it one of those situations where we opened up higher, maybe somebody sold 50 shares down there. It's a quick wick and like impossible to be in, because that does happen. There's times where we open high and there's a wick that comes almost out of nowhere, like somebody kind of just sells a position very low, it drops, pops, and then goes. So it all would depend, right? But from there, we do curl up over the highs of 11.25. It gets halted again here. Resumes higher once again at 12.11 this time, right? From 11.25 to 12. 11. So about a 90-cent resumption. Is that right? Something there. Somewhere there in that range. And then it rips up even higher to 13.74, pulls back. This is where we start to see some of those bottoming wicks. Low of 12.10, low of 12.14. This candle here would have been nice to trade. I would have loved to, opportunity cost. You're watching one stock, the other one goes. But it would have been nice to see the price action. And then it goes from there. We get highs of 15.10. I was watching at it here at VWAP, but I told the audience that, hey, this was the front side of the move. We had an 80% move. Like, if we measure this from the lows, this is about a 80% move, right? 80% move. Do I want to trade the backside? How likely is it that we're going to see a second leg that gives 80%? So, being that an 80% move has already came and went, do I want to be trading it over here? And, if we zoom in on this, we did go from, 1260 up to a high, what's this over here? Of, this was a 17% move of 1480. So it still gave 20%, right, from this low. And in terms of dollar, this is pretty decent, about $2 a share. But we said it like, hey, if this is gonna give another 80% move, it has to go all the way to $21. And it's like, is that likely? Are we likely to see a second leg? Even if it does go, maybe it breaks over 15 and goes to 16, 17. Is that possible? Is that likely? It was tempting. I didn't touch it, but there were entries. And I feel like these entries are higher risk. They're higher risk entries, but they could work. I say higher risk because, like, if you're trading this stock, right, and it's all relative for each of us individually, what we're used to being up when we're up. On a stock like this that does this type of move, let's say I'm up 1,500, 2K, right? Sometimes when I'm up that amount, I'd say, okay, do I want to risk $200 here and just kind of see what this does? Okay, if I lose $200, I'm still up 1,300 on the day. Okay, if I'm up 2K and I lose $200, I'm still up 1,800 on a day. But on a day like today where I'm basically flat, only up $100, do I want to risk $200 here? The answer is no, right? We're on a higher risk area of the stock. We're not quite on that first leg, and it's like, I kind of weigh it out, and it's like, okay, I'll leave it alone. But it does go up nicely. But these are the type of trade, and it comes down to the individual. You could have still made something on the day if you took on this trade. 1260s, 1270s entries around VWAP here, and we curled up initially to 1450, which was still pretty good, over $1.50. You're in there a few hundred shares or 1,000 shares, couple thousand shares, all depending on what's relative for you as the individual. For me, 1,000 shares would have been like a lot because of the range on this stock, but I've done that before. Right, for me, a little bit more mild might have been 500 shares. There's other people out there that will trade this very comfortably with 6,000, 10,000. They're just used to that level of risk, and their green days are like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. Their red days are 5,000, 10,000. It's all relative for each of us, right? If you're using just 100 shares, you're probably seeing $100 green day, $200 green day, maybe $100 red day, $50 red day. Right, so yeah, this was in play. We also had VKTX, which made a move, and this one kind of went up with lighter volume. It broke over yesterday's high at what was this level here, like 770, and it just kept going. It went up on this light volume, but kind of did its thing, and maybe it'll be in play tomorrow. I'd hope we have higher volume, because if we look at the daily chart, let's get rid of the active trader ladder. Day 1, we had 96 million shares. Day 2, 21 million. Day 3, 12 million, which was today. Can we see like 50 million tomorrow? Sometimes the volume don't really come back and they grind higher. And if it doesn't, I will not be touching this. Anything else? HTGM. HTGM also gave a move. This stock I could have been green on. This stock, and there was one yesterday, I think like A something that got halted up a couple of times. Do I have it on here? ATNF. ATNF and HTGM were also, you know, it's one of these, it's like, you know, I'm being mindful, I'm being cautious, and maybe I'm being a little too mindful, a little too cautious, because yesterday I was already red, you know, the 600, and it's like, man, it's also why it's important to capitalize when there is momentum, because that way you're more comfortable to trade. You don't have to be worrying about a max loss. I saw this stock and I saw entries, and the entries worked, and it's like, oh my goodness. You know, in fact, it's to the point where I had to X out my computer because it's like I don't even want to look at this thing, man. There was an entry somewhere on a dip here that I saw, and it's like, man, if I was in a good place on this day, if I was up a couple hundred and didn't mind risking a 150 or something, you know. But it's like I'm thinking max loss, like my mind is in the dumps, in the depths, right? And so it's not the way to be trading. We want to be trading freely, right? And so having that balance and making sure that we capitalize when there is good momentum, that way we can risk a little bit more, because that's what it comes down to, right? We're managing risk, we're taking on risk, calculated risk, and it's hard to take on risk when you're at your wit's end, your limits on the day, right? Try not to have too much of a big red day. So yeah, not to overtalk it, but I could have made money on this one yesterday, and I could have made money today on this HTGM. I also saw entries here. This one though a little bit more tricky, but we saw entries. But yeah, guys, that'll do it for the recap. Not to make it too long, but yeah, hit that thumbs up. Check out those links down below. It's been Relentless Trader, and I am, of course, signing out.